Okay, let's run.
So you make movies, huh?
I produce feature motion pictures.
I got an idea for a movie. That's good, Ray.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
No, please.
What's the matter?
Do we have to hear the kissing part?
Someday you may not mind so much.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I'm in love with you.
Snap out of it! I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond.
James Bond.
I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
Were you always funny?
Hey, what is this, an interview? We're supposed to be making love.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'll have what she's having.
If you win, you win. If you lose, you still win.
I'll be back.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to a very special presentation we have for you here at Neuroculture Channel. We're going to be talking about what is it? What is it that makes a movie perfect in your eyes? What is it? Is it, I mean, honestly, a word perfect is not something you toss around lightly. You know, they say nothing is ever perfect, but in some people's minds, you can watch a movie and believe and think to yourself, this movie is so good, it's perfect. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about on this show, but I am not alone. We're going to have a great roundtable full of guests. I'm your host, Ryan of Neuroculture, and joining me on this roundtable on this special discussion about what makes a movie perfect, please welcome Matt Kearns. Matt Kearns, how you doing, my good friend?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. This is going to be a fun topic to discuss.
It really is. It really is. I don't think many people are confident enough to sit up here in a studio or virtual movie theater as we're sitting in, because we're talking about movies that they consider to be perfect. Also joining us is one half of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay. Please welcome Kelly to the set. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being with us. Also joining us tonight on this roundtable, please welcome Art of Eli himself. Eli's in the building. Hello, Eli. How are you?
How you guys doing? I'm good. Tired, but good.
It's for some of us. It's been a 24-hour workday. Also joining us on the set tonight is the prophet of something known as pop culture, and he runs something that happens to be called Back of the Cereal Box. Please welcome John Pica to the stage. Hello, John.
Hey there, friends and foes. Excited to be here. Can't wait to dig in.
Boy, somebody clearly is excited and has had too much caffeine. We've only been here 2.5 seconds. But you know what? It's going to be a fun topic. And listen, if you have any thoughts about this, if you have a movie or a set of movies that you believe to be perfect, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you got questions for us regarding our lists that we're going to be sharing with you on this show, let us know, whether it's positive or negative. Hey, we take all comers. Bring out the haterade, guys. I don't care. Because Lord knows the comment section is going to be blown up here in about 5.2 minutes. So with that being said, let's kick things off with what do you think is a set of movies or a movie that you consider to be perfect? Ladies first. So Kelly, the stage is yours. What is a movie or movies that you believe to be perfect in your opinion?
All right. So my list probably isn't going to come as much of a surprise to anyone who's seen me on any podcast. And just to preface this, I think a perfect movie is not something that's technically perfect. I think it's a movie that you can watch over and over again, and it makes you feel feelings. It makes you happy. It has a great score. It's a popcorn movie. It's got fun, it's got action, it's got adventure, it's got romance. To me, it's got an element of fantasy. May not be for everyone, but that's kind of the ongoing thread for all my movies. So I tried to keep myself to 5. This was hard. So first of all, The Mummy, number 1 in my book. That is it. It's got everything. It's got a gorgeous, talented cast. It's got Brendan Fraser in his prime, Rachel Weisz. Just everyone in that cast is pitch perfect. The music is amazing. It's got just this adventure that unfolds that's fun, and it's got a romance that is just delightful to watch. Like, I cannot say enough good things about that movie. It's one of my favorites. I have cosplayed Evie a few times, and planning more Evie cosplays in the future. So next up is here's me as Evie. And then there's me as Evie with Crayley, my cosplay partner, cosplaying a gender bent Rick. Doesn't she look cute, y'all? So next up, I've got a few fairy tales because I absolutely love retold fairy tales. There is Ever After, which is a Cinderella story starring Drew Barrymore, and Angelica Houston is the evil stepmom. Angelica Houston slays everything she does. She's just incredible. Love her. That story has gorgeous costumes. It has, again, the music. It takes a fairy tale, but it deepens it. It turns it on its head. It has deep characters. It has romance, adventure, action, all you could ask for. Which also leads me into Stardust. And that's an original fairy tale by the incomparable Neil Gaiman. Stardust is very different from the book by Neil Gaiman, which is also lovely and something I adore. But Stardust has a star-studded cast. It is an underrated movie that a lot of people slept on, but then it kind of found a little bit of life and a cult following once it hit streaming. But if you haven't watched it, it's everything you could possibly want. And oh gosh, I have to remember what else made my 5, because narrowing it down again was really hard. So number 4, I'm gonna go with Hook from the 90s, because that again it takes a fairy tale that you think you know, and then it tells a different side of it, which I'm a huge fan of that trope. And it also has action and adventure, and it has love in a family way. It just has, and again, with a great score, great set pieces, great costumes, just so much good stuff. And then the last one, I'm going to go with Addams Family, because it's just fun, funny. The character, the 1990s Addams Family. And the characters are just fantastic. It is a remake of the 60s show and the Sunday comic strip, but they just really bring them to life in a fun way. And I mean, for that matter, the Mummy movie is a remake. Apparently, all the movies I love are remakes of something that came before, and I am fine with that. I like tropes. I like tropes dusted off and given a new sheen. So that's my thing. Yeah. That's my movies.
Goodness gracious. That's very good. So, by the way, Dave, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our good friends here in the chat. Dave Manley says, looks like I've got all the horses. Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river. Anyway, Dave Manley also goes on to say, I actually prefer The Mummy Returns, Kelly. The Mummy Returns from 2001.
That is a good choice. The Mummy Returns is awesome, except for the awful CGI at the end.
Is that the Scorpion King CGI in Mummy Returns?
Mm-hmm.
God, that was awful.
Yeah, that's. I believe that's what she was getting. By the way, our good friend Shannon is here. She says, "I consider the original Parent Trap with Haley Mills from 1961 my perfect film. The characters move as if they're in a musical, though a musical it is not." According to Shannon. There you go. Good stuff. I like it. I'm digging this. And then Dave Mattingly goes on to say, my perfect films are the following. The Addams Family. I'm assuming the 90s one there, Dave. The Fifth Element, Multipass. John Carter, which should have been named John Carter of Mars. I don't know why they didn't do it that way. The Phantom from 96 with Billy Zane. That's a good call. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit from Robert Zemeckis. Good picks, Dave Mattingly. Goodness gracious. He's got good taste. So, oh, yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. My mom has a funny story about when we were kids, my aunt bought that Who Framed Roger Rabbit for us, thinking, oh, it's animation, it's fine. And then my mom watched it and was like, no. We loved it. We loved it as kids. We didn't know any better. The same thing happened with Cool World, like a year or two later. I know. And then we were watching with my younger cousins, and there was a certain line that was very risque, and my aunt asked me to repeat it. She's like, "What did he say?" And I repeated it word for word, and my aunt was not happy. Different aunt too, not the aunt who bought Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The aunt who bought Who Framed Roger Rabbit does not have children, so it's 50-50 over whether or not she knew how bad it was and thought it would be funny.
I mean, the truth of the matter is Jessica Rabbit isn't bad. She's just drawn
that way.
Let's not forget Hollywood if she could.
Oh, man. You're killing me. But anyway, as far as that list, that's good stuff. Eli, any thoughts on Kelly's list?
The Mummy was always one of my favorite films. I love that movie. To this day, I can still watch it. Not these guys again. You know, freaking... what's his name? Brendan Fraser is amazing to this day. I definitely agree with the Mummy. Yeah, Stardust, I think I saw once. It's kind of like when she said, I was like, wait a minute. I remember that movie, but then I forgot it. But I thought her list was pretty solid.
Giddy up. Kearns, I know you had to step out and find something. I think they're called visual props. But Kearns, any thoughts on Kelly's list or any of it that you heard?
Well, unfortunately, I've only seen The Mummy from the list, but I do agree that that movie is great. It's like the perfect, if you don't own it, which you should own it, it's the perfect TV movie, like where before I owned it on DVD, if it came on TV, didn't matter if it was at the beginning, in the middle, right near the end, you just stop and you watch it. And that is the sign of a great movie. You're right, the cast, Rachel Weisz, Brendan Fraser, Arnold Vosloo is wonderful. Emotep. Yeah, just great, fun movie.
Johnny, any thoughts on Kelly's list? And by the way, who let the dogs out? Because I'm hearing all the dogs in the background of someone's studio.
Well, it's mine, and it's my wife. She doesn't care that I'm on the air. She lets them out. So, did I just say that out loud in public?
Yes, you did.
Anyway,
Yeah,
someone's gonna sleep in the doghouse.
Oh, that's every night. But but I was very interested by Kelly's list that it included Stardust. And I think back to that movie, you've got Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer giving some of the best performances of their career, especially Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was just so good in that movie. But for you Daredevil fans, you get to see a young Charlie Cox as the lead.
And a young Henry Cavill.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay.
Superman and Daredevil were in the same movie when they were young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is an interesting movie about, family ties and the things that connect us and how they do. And that's a good choice, Kelly. It wouldn't be on my list, but I can dig that.
And good stuff. Good stuff. Good. And for those of you just joining us, we are talking about movies that we consider to be perfect, or movies that we have seen that we just think are just brilliantly well done that they could be considered perfect. If you have any thoughts on this, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the live chat. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. And if you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you all for being here. We cannot do this without you. With that being said, Kelly, that was an interesting, wonderful list. I expected nothing less. If The Mummy or some iteration of The Mummy wasn't on there, whether it's Brendan, Boris Karloff, or whatever, I would have been shocked that these things are happening in my establishment. So I'm glad that that happened. Good for you. 4 stars on that. Mummy's a good flick. I just rewatched it for the first time in eons last week. For you, you're welcome, by the way. That was 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. No, I'm kidding. I liked it. Okay, it's not bad. No, you're all good. You're all good. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to our good friend, the prophet of pop culture himself, John Pica. I'm curious, what is a movie or movies that you consider to be perfect in your eyes?
So this is a topic that I talk about a lot. And in my opinion, in the history of filmmaking, there are exactly 20 movies that are perfect. Now, what makes a movie perfect? It's got a memorable story and a quotable script. This is a movie that after you've seen it one time, you are repeating it and quoting it over and over and over. And the script and the characters' quotes become part of pop culture. 2, it's got to have a score that is memorable and that moves the story along. And 3, for me, it cannot be like a part of a story. So there are a lot of sequels or a lot of movies that have a sequel that are the first part of an incomplete story. They don't qualify, in my opinion. So, for example, you will not find one of my favorite movies on the list of perfect movies. There is no Star Wars movie in my list of perfect movies because they are all dependent upon the other one, even though Empire Strikes Back is a modern masterpiece. But the story is incomplete. So you don't know the end of the story until the second movie or the third movie with Return of the Jedi. So that's my criteria for what makes a perfect movie. There are 20 of them. I'm not going to cover all 20, Ryan. You're welcome. But I will talk about some of my favorites. Up first, Tombstone. And I forgot the 4th criteria. They have to have performances by actors that are career-defining or iconic. So Tombstone, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, and several others, Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton, like Powers Booth, just an amazing cast, amazing script, and career-defining performances, especially by Val Kilmer. I'm your Huckleberry. I'll make you famous. Great movie. Number 2, Ghostbusters. Perfect movie. Self-contained story, beginning, middle, and end. If they had never done a sequel, it would have been perfect as a standalone action-adventure comedy. Again, career-defining performances by all of the cast. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Egon. Why can I not think of his? Harold Ramis. Phenomenal. Rick Moranis. Just the whole cast was phenomenal and so quotable. Quotable. Shawshank Redemption is a hypnotic movie. This is a movie that is so good that if it's on and you're flipping through channels, you don't want to stop and watch it. You have to. And it is just one of those movies that, I can't help but watch it when it's on. And wherever it is, wherever it's starting, I'm going to watch it through to the end. What a phenomenal movie. You better get busy living or get busy dying. Maybe the greatest movie of all time not maybe. That's objectively the greatest movie ever made is also a perfect movie, Casablanca. And if I need to explain why, then you've never seen it. And finally, I mean, I've got 10 written down here. There we go. There we go. Casablanca. And then, you know, looking at your intro, Ryan, you had a couple of great, perfect movies in there. But I'm going to go with, for my fifth and final one, The Princess Bride. Again, career-defining performances, perfectly written story. It touches all of the heartstrings. The score moves the story along. Memorable songs from the movie. And it is the most quoted movie in history. Dun, dun, dun. And I've got more if you want to hear them, but those are my top 5. Those are the 5 that I would talk about right now.
My goodness gracious. That is one heck of an interesting list, and someone who chimed in on some of the things here. Let's see. I believe it was Shannon says, as for animated films, definitely The Land Before Time with the dinosaurs. That's one for her. And then Dave Mattingly says, well, I'll give you honorable mentions real fast. 12 Monkeys, Aliens, which is the best Alien movie, by the way. Big Hero 6, Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell and company. The Bourne Identity, Clue with Tim Curry and a host of other great cast members. The Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery, with Shale into history. Kung Fu Hustle, I don't think I'm familiar with that one, Dave. The Matrix, slow time, bullet time, that's a good one. Dodge This. Boosh. Raising Arizona, that movie is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I watched that one of my film courses. Get out of here.
That's a perfect movie. That's
fair. That's fair. That's fair. Spirited Away, he says, and also Time After Time.
Time After Time is the absolute best time travel movie ever made, and it is a perfect movie. Let me give you my honorable mentions. I won't tell you why.
Go ahead.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
My Cousin Vinny. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And Back to the Future.
Some good ones. Man, that's a heck of a list. Sorry, I'm overwhelmed by the incredible, not just your list is solid, but also people are really excited about these lists here. I'm honestly, Dave Mattingly says, there's a shortage of perfect movies in this world. It would be a shame to ruin that one. Says Dave Mattingly. I guess he's trying to quote something there. I'm not sure.
The Princess Bride.
Thank you. Okay, and then Shannon says Kung Fu Hustle is a must-watch. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to add it to the list then, because I don't know what's going on here. I haven't seen it.
Brian, Kung Fu Hustle is basically it is a contemporary Kung Fu movie masterpiece. But if you are not into Kung Fu movies, you may not enjoy it. It's fantastic. But
all right. That's fair. That's fair. I completely understand. There's some good lists there. I really dig some of those, and I had a picture for Casablanca. I wonder how that happened. So I'm curious, though, Eli, do you have any thoughts on Johnny's list?
Tombstone's great. I love that movie. Val Kilmer did a great job. That's definitely one of my top 20s. So that was a great pick. And Casablanca, that's interesting. I think I only saw that movie once, and I was going to college. In film school, I saw the Bugs Bunny one was Carrot Blanca. Saw that one a couple times, but it's definitely that's cinema right there. That's up there with Citizen Kane and all those old school films, or the Maltese Falcon. Remember that one?
It's the stuff that dreams are made of. That is good stuff, man. I dig it. What about you, Kelly? Any thoughts on your good friend here you've known for 30x amount of years, known as Johnny B. Pica? What do you got for him?
You're aging me, Ryan. Jeez. No, Johnny, as always, your list is solid. Your reasons are solid. I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with Johnny. He knows pop culture.
I talk about this a lot. I talk about perfect movies with my friend group a lot.
Doesn't get any better than that, does it? He had a leg up on the rest of us here because I only made my list like yesterday or the day before. But anywho, Kearns, what about you? What did you think about Johnny's list? Any thoughts on what he had to say about his perfect movies?
Like what Eli and Kelly said, solid list, solid explanations for the reasoning there. Can't really add much to it.
Well, one thing's for sure, Matt. Johnny's list, that's a big Twinkie. It's a big Twinkie. You know,
Ghostbusters.
Back off, man.
That is a big Twinkie, man.
I came, I saw, I kicked its ass.
You did.
Cats and dogs living together.
Mass hysteria. Exactly. We could quote that one all night long, but we don't have that kind of time, Sonny boy. With that being said, you know what? I'm gonna call an audible here because we're having too much fun with this, honestly. Kearns, I'm gonna turn things over to you. What are some of the movies that you consider to be perfect from your standpoint, Kearns? What do you got?
So, for me, a perfect movie, it's funny because it's defined, what makes a perfect comedy doesn't make a perfect action movie. So for this list, I could do a whole list of 10 others. I kind of tried to pick some movies I talk about a lot and other movies that I don't talk about a lot. These are movies that I can put on any day of the week. They're movies that I can talk about on a film level, on a script level, and also just on a fun level. So the first one I'm going with is 1977's Star Wars. Obviously, there are many choices you could make, but for me, the original film it's a timeless classic, and I mean that timeless in that even though it's made in the 70s, it doesn't feel like it. It's because it invokes just this old school storytelling that Lucas was inspired by. It is truly, to me, the greatest sci-fi adventure film ever made. It is a movie that can make me smile on a bad day. Any aspect you want to look at this, the score by John Williams, amazing. The acting, amazing. The set design, the effects. This movie just continues to stand the test of time. Following that up, another Lucasfilm production. Even though this is Blu-ray set, I'm going with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Again, there are 3 movies that you could fight for being in the spot for me. Raiders is the one that I think invokes the adventure films the best. I think it has the best villain of the series with Belloq. It has the best female lead, Marion Ravenwood, who in 1981 was doing things that very few females in action movies were doing at that time. And then it has, to me, Harrison Ford in his greatest character. And this, for Spielberg, who wanted to always direct a Bond movie, he made a movie better than any Bond movie. To me, this movie is infinitely rewatchable. It is quotable. This movie is just the stuff that great films are made of. Then I have, once again, sometimes these are just box sets, but I have Back to the Future, the original, the first one. This is one of the sweetest father-son stories put to film, where the father does not know he's the father to the son. And that is actually why I think, there are so many elements, but to me, the older I get that I keep coming back to is those moments when Marty starts to realize how much he's like his father. That moment when his dad when George doesn't want to share his sci-fi stories because he's afraid he's going to rejected. And he says the exact same thing that Marty said to Jennifer about his music. And I think that's wonderful. And yeah, you got the great music of Alan Silvestri. You have the amazing directed by Robert Zemeckis. And of course, the incredible performances by the entire cast, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Crispin Glover, Leah Thompson, and Tom Vest Wilson, putting to screen one of the funniest and best movie villains ever with Biff Tannen. So I'm going to make like a tree and get out of here with this one. Ryan, we spent an entire watch along yesterday talking about this movie, which is Jurassic Park, 1993. What can you say? This is an updated telling of the Frankenstein story, which is this is what happens when man plays God. Quotable, another great Spielberg score. And I keep coming back to casting, but Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, this movie is a film that I watched yesterday on the channel, but I could easily throw it on right now and watch it again, and I could watch it on mute and still enjoy it. Now we get into some of the movies that I don't get to talk about a lot that I love. One of them being The Untouchables. To me, this movie is one of the greatest films ever made. I think the story that it is telling about a group of men who were trying to stop an almost unstoppable force. You have Kevin Costner and Sean Connery in one of his greatest roles, the role he earned his Best Supporting Oscar for. You have Robert De Niro as the gangster Al Pacino, a young Andy Garcia. This movie, its score, it's a film that every time I watch it, I always walk away thinking about it. Its story, like I said, it is truly, and the fact there's a lot of fictional stuff about it, but still just the story of these were men from a different time who saw someone doing something bad and decided to do something about it. Next, we have another Sean Connery film, which is The Hunt for October. To me, the best Jack Ryan film ever made. This movie is, to me, the definition of a perfect spy thriller. You have Alec Baldwin in his only turn as Jack Ryan, and my favorite Jack Ryan, who plays this character who he is always one step ahead and yet feels like at any moment he can fall 3 steps behind. And then you have Sean Connery as Captain Marco Ramius, who is great, who throughout the first part of the movie you think is the villain, and then by the end you realize he's not. He's a man who is deeply upset with how his country is handling things. If you have not seen this movie, I don't stop watching this stream, but after this stream, go and watch The Hunt for October. Now on the more lighter side, I have Ocean's 11. This movie is possibly the coolest cast ever. Danny Ocean is up there as one of the coolest movie characters ever put to screen. This is just a fun movie. And I think sometimes when we talk about perfect movies, we talk about the Citizen Kanes and the Casablancas, which are, sometimes could be dealing with heavy issues. Ocean's 11 does not deal with that. It is a heist movie. It is funny. And it is, to me, it's like the definition of a Saturday night movie. If the summer's coming up, if you're looking for a good time, pop some popcorn and watch Ocean's 11. Then we have, to me, the greatest sports film of all time, Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come. This movie is guaranteed to make me cry every time I watch it. This is my favorite Kevin Costner performance. And it is a movie that is about a man who feels a lot of regret in his life and feels, this loss that he never got to rectify. And he's able to go on this incredible journey. And James Earl Jones as Terrence Mann is amazing. Amy Madigan is fantastic. Ray Liotta, this is one of my favorite roles of Ray Liotta. Ty Cobb wanted to play, but we all couldn't stand him in life, so we told him to suck it. Yeah, and again, I keep going back to score, but this score is just beautiful. All right, I'm down to my last two, and here we go. To me, the greatest action thriller movie ever made. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. The Fugitive. Harrison Ford, proving once again why he is the greatest action star ever. Tommy Lee Jones is my favorite role of his. The story of John Kimball, a world-renowned surgeon who's accused of murdering his wife, even though he knows it's not, and trying to find the man who did it while U.S. Marshals hunt him down. If you have not seen this movie, you need to put it on your watch list immediately. It's why I don't want to say too much, because there's some twists and some turns in this movie, and it's stellar. And then finally, to me, one of the greatest films ever made, the original 1976's Rocky, the story of a club fighter who gets a chance to become the heavyweight champion of the world. What is so beautiful about this movie is the fact that so many sports movies kind of ride on this. We have to win. You know, the end of the movie has to be, we win the pennant, we win the trophy. Rocky is not concerned about that. What Rocky is concerned about is going the distance. He says it to Adrian in the movie that all he wants to do is that at the end of the last round, when that final bell rings, that he's still standing to prove that he's just not another bum from the neighborhood. The relationship between Rocky and Adrian is my favorite romantic relationship on film. Excuse me, because Rocky and Adrian improve each other's lives immensely. This is a beautiful movie. This is another film that makes me cry. And this is my comfort movie when I'm going through rough periods in my life. I throw on this movie because it's a movie that reminds me that it doesn't matter whatever people think about you. It matters what you think about you. Know your own self-worth and prove it to everyone else. So those are my 10.
Like, whoa. Whoa, this is heavy. There's that word again, heavy. Why is things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? No, that's not the truth. But the truth is, that's a heck of a list, man. That is a lot to unpack. So you need to give me a few hours here to digest this. Johnny, please take this weight off my shoulders. What are your thoughts on Kearns' list, Johnny? You're still muted, by the way, Johnny.
So I love that he included the 1977 classic Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Normally that would be in my list of perfect movies, except that it was altered throughout the years. So it for me, that even though Star Wars inspired my entire life, everything about my life starts with Star Wars. So I love that that is on the list. However, I have to take issue with you on two of those films, because two of them are remakes. Ocean's 11 is a remake. And I just don't think you can include a remake as a perfect film. And then The Fugitive it's not a remake of a film, but it is a remake of the classic TV series, The Fugitive. And so for me, those two films, as good as they are, and as much as I love Ocean's 11 and Brad Pitt's character, it's disqualified for me.
Wow, I got some heat coming in from Section 3 on this set. I'm digging it, man. Getting some heat back here. Kelly, what are your thoughts on Kearns' picks? Because I can tell you got something on your mind.
I was going to say, doesn't that disqualify The Mummy then? That's like a 97 remake.
The Mummy and the Addams Family by that.
Yeah. And that's your opinion,
and those
Johnny.
are not on my list.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can promise you I'm not going to be pacing around the floor tonight being like, Johnny, Pluto should let
There is a reason why this is subjective, though.
As the dude once said, that's just like your opinion, man. That actually should have been my list, too. Big Lebowski's great.
I'm surprised it didn't end up on your list. But no, seriously. Okay, Kelly, those are some good thoughts. I appreciate that. Eli, anything to say in response to Kearns' list? Because he just named like some of the, if not, there's an argument to be made that these movies could be considered perfect, but also I just think they're great, like some of the GOATs, in my opinion. So, Eli, what do you think about Kearns' list?
For you to say Star Wars, my hat comes off to you, my bald head, I should say, because it's a perfect film. I was thinking in terms like, should I add it? So I'm glad someone did, and I'm glad my list doesn't cross with everyone else's. But I love how your movies are all different, bro. How old are you? You're way younger than all of us.
I am gonna turn 26 this upcoming Sunday.
To see somebody that young be into so many of those different movies is really impressive to me. Like, you're as old as my oldest, so that's amazing. Like, to have like Field of Dreams, and it was like a variety of stuff. You know, I have to admit, I was really impressed. I was like, I'd never seen that one, but maybe I should. you know, or like even like Sean Connery. What was it? Red October. My dad loves that movie. I never sat down and watched the whole thing, believe it or not. Shame on me. But it's really I'm really impressed. I mean, of course, Back to the Future, a great film. It's creepy. Remember seeing it as a kid, and I was like, is that his mom? You know, but hey, it was a different time in the 80s. But no, I applaud you, kid. I really do. I really do.
I know, honestly. I feel like Johnny and Matt, and we'll get to this in a moment here, but I feel like Johnny and Matt sat next to me in class when I was making my list, because you copied off. I think half the things that have been said tonight already are on my list, so this is just sad.
I knew we were going to have crossover, Ryan. I knew.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. I was super stoked that you chose The Untouchables.
Yes.
The Untouchables is definitely a perfect movie, and I watched it just yesterday. I can't believe that I didn't put it on my list for tonight, but Sean Connery is monumentally quotable.
Always.
He brings a knife, you bring a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way. That's how you beat Capone.
Man, we should have a quote off one of these days. But I do want to take a moment and say, for those of you who are just joining us and wondering what the heck is going on here, we are talking about movies that we consider to be perfect in our eyes and our hearts and our minds and our souls. If you have any thoughts about this on anybody's list, whether you agree with them or not, or if you have something you want to chime in on a movie of yours, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat, whether you're joining this live or on the replay. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. More people are chiming in here, and they're having a blast diving into this discussion. I got to be honest with you. Shannon says, must. If you've seen Shaolin Soccer, you're going to like Kung Fu Hustle. And then Dave Mattingly goes on to say, Kung Fu Hustle. What if the Shang-Chi and the Matrix had a baby with the Looney Tunes and was a musical? Okay,
that's pretty much it. Yep, that's
okay.
Spot on.
Thanks for describing that, Dave. And then he goes on to say, Kearns, I wish Alec Baldwin would have been the character of Jack Ryan more.
I agree. Even though I love Harrison Ford's turn, I kind of wish we had Alec Baldwin, Patriot Games, then we get Harrison Ford, Clear Present Danger, and then another film. That would have been ideal.
That's interesting. And then Dave Mattingly has 1,000 more honorable mentions. He says, Airplane, Don't Call Me Shirley. Gattaca, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1. The Gods Must Be Crazy. Not familiar with that one. Groundhog Day. What? The Martian. That was a comedy or a musical, wasn't it? The Martian. Anyway, Rogue One, the best prequel we ever got in the history of Star Wars. Superman 2, Christopher Reeves, one of his finest performances of his career. The Truman Show. Hey, we play that at the end of every episode of And I Quote. You're welcome. The Wizard of. Are you talking about the Wizard of Oz? Is that what you're getting at before you were saying?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Probably.
No, the Wizard of Speed and Time. I haven't seen it, but I will say The Martian is really good. The Martian is excellent. It's Matt Damon. He gets stranded on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Groundhog Day. That is a great pick. I love that movie.
And then Dave Mattingly says you can't include a remake of a perfect film. How about The Mummy or even The Fly with Jeff Goldblum? Good point. By the way, or John Carpenter's The Thing. By the way, Hollis Thompson says happy birthday to the young one known as Matt Kearns. So there you go, Kearns. You got a birthday wish from our good friend Hollis Thompson. What's up, buddy? George Bueller is here with us. He says my list of perfect films is as follows: Pulp Fiction. That's a good one. The Truman Show. We've heard that one before. Halloween. Which Halloween? Because there's like 30,000 of those things. Silverado. Superman. Yeah. Superman 1978 with the late great Christopher Reeve. We miss you, by the way, Christopher. Yeah. Goodfellas. I'm a clown. I amuse you. From Dusk Till Dawn. That's an interesting pick. Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God. Jaws. You're going to need a much bigger boat, George. You're going to need a much, much, much bigger boat. And The Wrestler. I have not seen The Wrestler.
Oh my gosh.
Those are good picks, George.
Those are great picks, and I can't believe you've never seen The Wrestler.
Johnny,
Ryan.
this is going to shock you even more. I've never even seen Goodfellas.
What?
You just quoted it.
I know, but I don't know anything about it other than the quotes. Anyway, Dave Mattingly says The Wizard of Speed and Time is about an indie animator filmmaker who's fighting against the system.
I honestly thought that you just forgot a space and you meant to say The Wizard of Oz, Speed, and then Time, because I'm like, Speed, that is great. That's a favorite action movie.
And then George says the original Halloween from 1978 is the one he was referring to in his list of perfect movies. Okay, thank you, George. Appreciate it.
I'm going to add a hot take here. because Matt said Speed is a great movie. I'm going to say that any movie that has Keanu Reeves in it is automatically disqualified from being a perfect movie because he is the worst actor to ever grace the screen.
I
What?
disagree with that.
Get
There's
out.
a lot worse actors
Get
than
out.
Keanu Reeves out there.
I know Nicolas Cage is probably worse, but I mean,
Well, no, I'm talking about just like.
I'll tell you what, we got a hot take from the studio, and not only that, we got a possible topic for another show that we could put on this channel or somebody else's channel for that matter. But we don't have that. We don't have that.
So,
I know, seriously.
okay, Johnny, I'll give you this. Keanu Reeves plays pretty much the same character in every movie. So,
which doesn't bother me per se, but then again, he's made some bad stuff because I've seen a few of his bad movies, but I don't know.
Well, and with if somebody else had played Neo, The Matrix would be a perfect movie. But I just could not get past, his Bill and Ted.
His Keanu-ness.
Oh man, his Keanu-ness. And
my husband just added his 2 cents and said Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure should be on the perfect movies list because his Keanu-ness was perfect in that.
Yeah, it really was. And Nicolas Cage has done some phenomenal movies that are good movies, but like Raising Arizona, it might be a perfect movie. Might be. Because Nicolas Cage was just playing Nicolas Cage.
I mean, some actors just have to stick within their wheelhouse, and when the directors cast them to their type, it works. But whenever they're cast against their type, it doesn't work. So we can't.
I mean, it's called typecasting for a reason.
Movies. Yeah, well, we cannot disqualify Keanu movies just because he's in them.
I mean, that's something for a completely different show. And the audience is chiming in here. George Bueller says, boo John Pica. Shannon says, but Constantine. And then Dave Mattingly goes on to say, go fetch the giant vaudeville hook and yank Johnny off the stage for maligning my boy, known as Keanu Reeves. And then Dave Mattingly goes on to say, I second the motion for his performance in Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. And then George Bueller goes on to say, has anyone seen something known as The Man from Tai Chi from the year 2013? Because Keanu plays a villain running an underground fight club. No, I have not.
I've never even heard of that.
Awesome.
I've never even heard of this, George. I'm not familiar with this. And then Dave says, here's your link. Go fetch it. Wow. Okay. This show has taken a turn, I would say. But Eli, help me, save me, somebody save me. Eli, what are some movies in Eli's mind that you believe to be perfect movies, Eli? No pressure, but the stage is yours, my good friend. What do you got for us?
First thing, you don't want to be in this mind. So I want to play a little game. So here's the game. I'm going to quote something. See if I know I can't hear you guys, so I don't know. So I'm going to quote a quote and see if you know the movie.
Sure.
First one is, give me back my hand. Name that movie. But I have visual reference.
Moonstruck.
Kalakda. Verata. Evil Dead 2. The reason why I say this is one of my favorite films, is a perfect movie. I have to say this set. Oh, by the way, every movie I pick, this is number 10. Every movie I pick is something that either enriched my life, either something that really had some type of emotional impact on me and mine, or made me see things totally different. So perfect for me. And that's all that matters. So Evil Dead 2, right? This movie was in a league of its own. It took horror to a whole new genre, to a point where Evil Dead Rises was kind of like a little wink to that one. And that movie did really well recently. Didn't have my boy Bruce, but that's okay. This movie made a character who was pretty much a wuss in the first one, turned it on its head, turned him into this action star-ish character who was like this Looney Tunes slash like, freaking Three Stooges, and turned him into this iconic cult classic character. Like, people know who Ash Williams is. People love Bruce Campbell because of this. The movie itself, like the special effects, a little hand running around, like I could watch this movie again and again, and I have. It definitely made me see. I saw this movie when I was really young, not on DVD, on VHS actually, in a cabin with my boy Marlon. Shout out to Marlon if you're watching. Believe it or not, it made me see horror in a whole different light. How horror is just really cheese. I mean, to this day, there's not a horror movie that scares me other than Batman and Robin, but that's for another day. So, number 9. So this question is for Thomas. Do you like dogs? Because I heard his dog in the back. Do you like dogs? Snatch. That's a movie that I can watch. My mom's favorite movie, by the way. Yeah, Mom. Pointing you out. That movie with Brad Pitt, young Brad Pitt, the characters were so, I can't even say lovable, but they were so impactful, from the bad guys to the main characters. You know, when you're about to die, you make a stupid face, you know, like a young what's his name? Transporter. Or Meg, I should say. No, he's in those movies, Jason Statham. But there was that scene where they burn Brad Pitt's caravan, right, with his mom in it, with his mother still inside. That scene actually makes me tear up. And it's crazy because you only had so little bit of time with the mom and him, but you knew he loved his family and you knew he loved his ma. And like when they had that scene and Brad Pitt's acting, it was amazing how you didn't have to have this long, drawn out time with that character, right? So anyway, it's amazing that that movie is just, to me, I can still watch it again and again. It's funny. It's Eli. Like anyone that knows me, like deeply knows me, it's one of my favorite films. Third, sorry. Number 8. Here's another quote. One of my favorite quotes in the film. You ready? So what are they, psychos? He's like, psychos don't explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a how crazy they are. Dusk Till Dawn. Somebody mentioned it before. That movie is another great film. Like Tarantino outdid himself with that one. It almost had a Psycho feel to it, where they give you these two brothers on the run, a bank heist, and it turns into this hostage scenario. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's a vampire film. I remember seeing that when I was 13, and Selma Hayek. Oh, anyway, it blew my mind. And George Clooney was great in that. Tarantino was great in that. As short time as he had his Psycho self. Even like the corny, like The Mask, The Bats. It was another film that screamed 1990s, 1980s horror. The rat creature. It's just like, it's another movie. I watched it with my brother recently. We seen the movie. I think I know every, right, Josh? I think we know every like line in that film. I know I still do it when I watch it. Number 7. This is an easy one, especially for you, Ryan. Pizza Dude's Got 30 Seconds. Ninja Turtles, 1989. That movie was a masterpiece on so many levels. It paid homage to the comic book. It had this dark 1990. Sorry. It had this definite like dark but light feel to it. It was a perfect blend of a comic book film, technically, right? It was one of my favorite comic book movies without even realizing it was a comic book film. It had a little bit of violence. Casey Jones was awesome in it. April was awesome in it. I have 3 younger brothers, so there's 4 of us, Turtles. So there's definitely it's very near and dear to my heart. I remember seeing it at my boy's house in VHS. Yes, I'm that old. An amazing film. I get to watch that so many times. I'm looking forward to a new one. Yes, it's a little different, but you know what? I always tell my students, I realize now newer movies are not for us older folk. Yes, I called myself that. Ooh. But at the end of the day, when I go see a film, I'm not taking it too serious. I'm just going to go and enjoy it. And I realize, okay, well, if it sucked, it's not really for me, but maybe it's for the youth, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This one's going to really chap Tom's you-know-what. Whoa. Are you saying I can dodge bullets? I'm saying you won't have to. Matrix. Keanu, yes, Keanu's Keanu. He's definitely Keanu Reeves. And if you know the man as a person, as far as his reputation, I have to admit, bad actor or not, I respect him. And I'm not big on, you never see on my Facebook me giving props to human beings. At the end of the day, we're all flawed. And I don't forget that, not even for myself. but the way he overcame so much, that made me like really respect this man. He's somebody I want to meet. And I don't want to meet too many actors. Like, I care less. The movie itself was very anime. When anime wasn't even anime, I mean, it was when you had to get in those certain stores, you know. I just watched Ninja Scroll for like a millionth time. But the story about the breaking free, and I use Matrix all the time to kind of help kids with their mindset. And I've noticed that term is being used even in psychology now, break free of the Matrix. The whole Morpheus storyline, him telling him to see his worth so he can fight. I mean, I could do a whole thing on how Matrix in real life kind of really has its similarities, but that's for another day. So, number 5. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Yes, kids, I had to put Batman on there. Can't be too careful with all the weirdos around. That movie was amazing because it was there you go, my man. That movie definitely had so much to offer for such a short period of time. It was only an hour and like maybe 9 minutes, something like that. It had the feel of the cartoon series. It had the voice actors. It didn't take itself as a cartoon. It had blood in it. It had murder in it. It had Joker. It had Mark Hamill in it. It had him kill an old man. Andrea, Batman's first love, had heartbreak. Just a perfect story on so many levels in such a short period of time. And God rest Kevin. Really nice man, a sweetheart. I was blessed to meet him. We did the show when he passed in November. So that movie, I have to say, it's something I could watch again and again. There's other Batman films, but I had to pick at least that one. Number 4. Let's see, what was that line? Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Gladiator. That movie I saw when I was 25. And I remember, because I didn't see it in theaters, it was between that and a video game, and the person at the store told me, buy the movie, you'll love it. And I'm glad he did. I watched it a million times. And it's about a man trying to find honor in an honorless world. Like, everybody that he respected either betrayed him, or even in the beginning, they didn't want to let him go. And then, he just wanted peace, and it's a story about redemption, and it's a story about a man fighting for his family. His family's not there, and he found purpose again, helping these people break free. And in the end, he gets peace, when he kills off Joaquin Phoenix, but that movie still resonates to me as the older I get, and the more I dealt with life and the more I dealt with loss. I love that movie every time I see it more and more. So it's definitely Gladiator is definitely on top. Number 3. They'll need you right now, but when they don't, they'll cast you out like a leper. The Dark Knight. I mean, come on, like that movie. Even though, I know it's not a Batman film. People are like, it's not a Batman film. I know, but the Joker was amazing in it. God rest him. Heath Ledger. I mean, I got to go on because we already know. Like, what I'm going to say is what everyone else said. Seeing it in IMAX for the first time was amazing. The truck scenes, the way the movie was done. Joker had a point, which was crazy because, like, he definitely had his take on society, and unfortunately, he wasn't wrong. And that's another story for another day. Number 2. This movie I've seen it in the theaters when it came out. So it was in the theaters for 7 months, and I saw it 7 times, once a month. Once it won an Oscar, it was on for, I think, another 2 or 3 months, and I went to see it, took my friends, family, you name it. And the sequel's just about to come out, or came out already. Probably see it tomorrow. It's a leap of faith. Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. That movie, I should have put it as number 1. But the animation, the way that they take it as 2D animation, they put it on 15s instead of 24, so it has a stop motion look. For you animation fans out there, 24 is frame per second, meaning 24 drawings per second. They cut it to 15, like stop motion. Miles, I knew what it was like to be, remember what it was like to be a 12-year-old kid. I mean, I'm a big kid at heart. You see by my surroundings and my T-shirt. But I also know what it was like to be a 40-year-old Spider-Man, questioning his life and his choices, and did he do right? Will he mess up again? That movie spoke to me on so many. It still does. Like, I tear up when he's talking about, the leap of faith, and because that's what life is. I don't care who you are. There's always that moment, that push that you need, and sometimes you're blessed to have people, and sometimes not. But it always comes down to that moment when you realize, all right, I can do this. It's a great father and son story. My brother just had his first son, so it's like I'm very like I saw my baby brother, who's 32. Is my little guy is going to be my nephew is going to be 1 this month, and I could see my brother be like that to his son, because I was like that with my brother, and just Gwen Stacy was awesome. I mean, I could go on and on about that movie, but that movie had so much heart. Had a dumb storyline. Let's be honest. Kingpin wants to bring back family from another dimension. Cheesy, just like the old comic book storylines. But because the characters were so impactful, you couldn't hate that movie. I think I knew one kid that had a problem with that movie. Everyone else loved it. I'm sure I'll probably hear somebody say they don't like it, but it'll be such a small list. And this one, you guys are probably someone's going to have an issue with this one. The number one movie of all time for me. The movie runs 12 hours and 12 hours and a half, Josh. So every Christmas, that's my birthday. My birthday process. My birthday. I guess my quote would have been, "You have my sword." But Lord of the Rings. The reason why I say 3 films, because you can't have. I don't know. I love part 2 if I was to pick 1 out of 3, because his Helm's Deep scene was amazing. But I've watched part 1 all the way to, part 3, no problems. We did it with The Hobbit too. Lord of the Rings is a great movie, and it was funny because my best friend Thurman, I was broke at that time. I wanted to go see them. I didn't want to see the movie because I was like, it's little Hobbit, little hairy feet men. Wasn't interested in that. And he goes to me, he goes, "Eli, you got to see this movie." I'm like, I was broke, lost my job, times were tough. And he goes, "There's a character in that movie you're going to love. And he reminds me of you, and you're going to enjoy it. I promise." And he goes, "If not, I'll pay you back." I said, "Okay." I went to see it. Aragorn was that guy, like the guy afraid to be like his father, the one that was set to be king. He just didn't want it. And I still, to this day, I still struggle with taking labels. Like, I became firefighter of the year, and it's hard for me. Like, I even saying it, like, I appreciate the gesture, but it's almost like it's a part of me that's still afraid to get too high and mighty, because like in the movie, his father fell from grace, because once he put that ring on, he got power, and once he had that power, he got pride, and once he had that pride came his fall. So when you look at his storyline, it's an amazing story, because in the end he does take it up. So I guess that's all, folks. There was more, but we only could pick the ones on top of my head. So
I mean, holy cow, you son of a motherless goat. What a list that was. Kelly, I am just blown away. So Kelly, save me from this embarrassment. What are your thoughts on Eli's list, and the fact that he puts a quote in each and every single one of his picks, which he picked up from me? He got that from me.
Yes, I got it from him.
So Kelly,
I want to be like Ryan.
Yeah, Kelly, from one movie fan to another, what do you have to say about Eli's very interesting list?
That is an eclectic list. I'm feeling a little like my list was a little too the same. No, okay, Lord of the Rings, that's my jam. I love Lord of the Rings. And you're right, like Johnny disqualifies it especially because they are not standalone movies. The first or the trilogy is a full story, but the music is beautiful. The scenery is beautiful. I got to go to New Zealand in high school, and I was there pretty close to where they were filming some parts of the movie while they were filming it, but I didn't know. So, like, at first, I'm like, I could have been stalking hobbits. I could have gone to Hobbiton. Anyway, sorry, but so I grew up. My dad read The Hobbit to me growing up. So that was something we bonded over. So Lord of the Rings has a special place in my heart. But obviously the Batman films. So I will argue about the Christopher Nolan films. They're not my favorite. I think they're overrated. I'm sorry. We'll have to fight up. We'll have to agree to disagree about that because I think most people disagree with me, but they're not. That's not my Batman.
I love them.
I
in
think
every
technically, as films, they're good.
I thought
It's not
Ryan
my
had
Batman.
hot takes, but geez, Kelly.
I you know what? At least I didn't say I hated Keanu Reeves. That's like saying you hate puppies, okay?
Wait, I didn't say I hate him. I didn't say I hate him. I just said he's not a good actor.
Who's a 5? Johnny hates Keanu Reeves and puppies.
I'm gonna have to
Although
draw
I
him
do-
as Keanu Reeves.
I do think that his motivation in John Wick is weak.
The dog didn't
Ooh.
read.
See, so you admit it. No, I'm okay. I probably should bow out now that I dropped this hot take. No,
I'll say.
it's time for me to go to bed.
No.
If you all want to pelt me with hate mail, I'm at Phoenix's cosplay everywhere. Be a little kinder because I have a cosplay partner and she might read the hate mail too. Make sure you direct it to Kelly because I don't think Crayley shares my views on the Nolan.
Well, I share your views.
So you'll take the hate mail too.
Yeah, on the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, yes.
But Eli, I still love you. You're still one of my favorite Batman.
Oh, thank you.
Brian, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You gotta
Kelly.
do part 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe we could do something like this somewhere down the line. But in the meantime, for those of you just joining us, we are talking about what makes a movie perfect. We're sharing our lists and our opinions. And granted, we're sharing a lot of hot takes on this set. If you have any thoughts about this, positive or otherwise, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Don't forget to like and share this video with all of your closest friends. Dive into the conversation. Whether you're joining this live or on the replay, we thank each and every single one of you for chiming in here. And I want to get to these comments. But before I do that, Kelly, thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your night. We will see you on the other side. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Manamana. Thanks, Kelly.
Bye, Kelly.
Bye, guys.
Wow, what an amazing person she is. Johnny, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Any thoughts on Eli's list?
Well, yeah. A couple of those movies are disqualified from my criteria. And Lord of the Rings in general, oh my God. You guys, I went and saw that movie in the theater with a group of Lord of the Rings fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat through that movie and I watched them walk through the forest. I watched them walk over the mountain. I watched them walk here and walk there. And I watched them continue to walk. And then the movie ended with Frodo at the edge of that mountain, that cliff, that cauldron. And then it just ended. And I viscerally said out loud, "What?" I said that what? That's the end? That's how it ends? And they're all like, no. That's just the setup for the story. So I never saw the other two movies.
Wow.
Because I disliked that movie so much. However, Eli, Batman Mask of the Phantasm may be the single best Batman movie ever made.
Agreed. I agree with that one.
Yeah. He could be right. He's got a fair point. And Johnny, you made some good points there about, by the way, here's the thing. There's a fan there is a group of fans out there for a lot of different movies and a lot of different properties, right? So when it comes to Lord of the Rings, for me anyway, I can watch Fellowship of the Ring no problem, but the other two I can let it go. Because Fellowship of the Ring to me is a standalone. It's even though it does end on a bit of a clip, but I don't care.
That's the hardest one for me. That's
No,
the one
Fellowship of the Ring I
love.
love because it sets up the characters, it sets up the story, and there's some good action sequences when they're in the forest battling the orcs for me and stuff. And Strider, aka Aragorn, played by the incredible Viggo Mortensen, is a badass mama jamma. Sean Bean dies in every single movie he's ever been in, unless he's in National Treasure, where he gets arrested at the end of that. So Sean Bean as Boromir, one does not simply walk into Mordor. Like, he's got some great lines, and the guy knows how to act his way out of a paper bag better than some actors do. You know, if you want to throw Keanu Reeves into that mix, fine. But Boromir was great. Sean Bean is great. I think he's a wonderful actor. I hope he does conventions, because I would love to meet him and talk about his great work in another film that he was in years and years and years and years ago. But interesting list, Eli. I got to tell you, and it's funny that you mentioned 1990s Ninja Turtles, because I just rewatched that for the 80th billionth time the other day. And you mentioned The Dark Knight. I'm in the process of rewatching that right now, because that movie turns a very healthy looking 15 years young next month.
That's crazy,
The Dark Knight turns 15.
We're getting younger.
We're getting too young for this stuff, but that's a very interesting list. And by the way, this is going to shock absolutely nobody. I've never seen an Evil Dead movie.
Wow.
Never.
Neither have I, Ryan.
Okay, so Johnny and I, for once, were in the same boat. We've never seen Evil Dead, so yeah, you're welcome.
But most horror movies I've never seen. Horror is not a genre that I'm into.
Well, that's completely fair, because I'm not the biggest horror movie fan myself. But interesting list there, Eli. You brought up some good ones, and obviously Mask of the Phantasm. You copied off my paper, so thanks a lot for copying off my paper. You cheated. You took something from my list. Kearns took something from my list, and a few others took something from my list. Kearns, what are your thoughts on Eli's picks here? Anything stand out to you besides the fact that he named so many Batman movies? It's almost like a Batman list.
Yeah, that's fine. I really liked Eli's picks. I like how personal he got with them. Because that's what I love, because you know, perfect movies, you know, some people it's technical, some people it's emotional. I, as the only one, I guess, aside from Eli, I've only seen the trilogy. But you picked my second favorite Evil Dead movie, because number one for me is always going to be This Is My Boomstick. You only got two things left, Jack and Shit, and Jack Left Town. Army of Darkness for me is my favorite of that trilogy. But yeah, I love your list. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Class is Pain 101. You instructed Casey Jones. Jose Canseco back. Tell me you didn't spend money on this.
It was a 2-for-1 sale, pal.
I love that movie so much. That movie got me into Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. I still own the cardboard covered DVD. I love that movie so much. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. It is well documented on a channel I work with, Take 3 Productions, that for a very long time I was not a fan of that trilogy. I watched it when I was younger, but then I revisited it, and now that trilogy is one of my favorites. I think they are magical movies. Fellowship is my favorite. I think it's a wonderful story of having to leave your home and being thrust into a situation that you know, Frodo kind of feels that he can't handle, but then this group sort of forms together, and Aragorn, Boromir, that whole ending with Boromir, you know, I would have followed you, my brother, my king. It's great. And then I'm literally just going through Gladiator. That was the other one I wanted to talk about. I adore that movie. Gladiator and Braveheart were two that I was debating putting on my top 10, because I love both of those movies. And I love what you said. Yeah, it's a story of this man who was sort of at this peak and was sort of thrown down. Now he's looking for vengeance. He's looking for redemption. And I love that. Joaquin Phoenix is so great as the villain.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, Russell Crowe. He's just so good. And especially it's funny when you know the story of the production of that movie was really horrible, to where they were changing the script daily and were writing script pages around sets that were already built. To have the movie end up not just be good, but to be that great. That's, and I have on my phone, I have the final track, We Are Free, and I listen to it all the time. I love that score. And Djimon Hounsou is wonderful in that film.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah. So, Eli, you included on your list Into the Spider-Verse. And have you seen Mitchell's versus the Machines?
Yes, I did.
Same studio. That would Mitchell's versus the Machines would be on my perfect movie list.
I saw it once on Netflix. Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Oh my gosh, Ryan, it's so good.
I don't think I've heard of that one, but I do have Netflix, so I can always, if it's on there or something's on there, I can always go back and chime in on it. But so a lot of people are chiming in the chat. I want to take a moment to say hello once again to our virtual audience. George Bueller says Evil Dead 2 is arguably the best sequel due to the fact that it does not need the first installment to be enjoyable. All right, fair enough. Eli, I recommend seeing Evil Dead the musical on stage. Oh, you have seen it?
Okay. Going in Vegas with my brothers back in 2012. Yeah.
Vegas, baby. Vegas.
It was fun, but it was a long.
It was a long flight, yeah. And Dave Manley says Mask of the Phantasm is still quite good. It set the standard. Hollis Thompson says, I agree that Mask of the Phantasm is a very solid choice for a Batman film. The new film known as Spider-Verse is very good. But if they're all of them fooled, for another ring was made. Yeah. J Robin _83, is it a secret? Is it safe? Yeah, it's safe.
Yeah, it's my brother.
Oh, it is? Is that who that is?
Yeah, it's my brother.
There you go. Your brother's in the house. Dave Mattingly chimes in, you son of a motherless goat. Yes, Dave, I quoted another movie that's not on my list. Dave Mattingly says Adam West is his Batman. Okay, that's
Good
fair.
Choice, old chum.
John, grief is weak. Have you outlived a wife like John Wick and I have? Just saying. George Bueller says, I work with some insane people known as John B. Pica and Kelly Gettner in reference to their dislike of the Nolan trilogy of Batman. Dave Manley says, Ryan, Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite of the trilogy itself. That's good. He also says, Ryan, you can skip right to Evil Dead 3, aka Army of Darkness. It's mostly just comedy.
I would suggest watching Evil Dead 2 before that, because it's comedy. It's funny, Ryan. I'm telling you, I'm not really much of a horror person. I really love Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. And Bruce Campbell, man, he's great in that film.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
he
fair.
Flipped himself. That was amazing. Oh, my back thing. Oh.
You and your quotes. Johnny, anything else you want to chime in on as far as Eli's list, or if you need to, do you need to vacate the premises?
Yeah, I'll need to bolt in here just a minute, but I want to address something that Dave Mattingly just said about John Wick.
Sure, go ahead.
I understand John Wick's motivation for killing the one guy, and I get that. But to go on a spree against the entire criminal underworld because they killed his dog, I don't know. It doesn't work for me. But the one guy, absolutely. If someone killed my dog, he ain't living another day. He ain't seeing another sunrise. But the rest of his family, and I don't know. That's just me.
Can I? So it's funny. The John Wick movies, technically, it's not about the dog. People think it is, but it's not. The dog was a straw that broke the camel's back. So they set up, I mean, it's subtle, but they set up that here's this angry, messed up guy that finds love. She calms him down. She's the beast. Believe me, I know what it feels like to have somebody that kind of calms down that rage in you. So, like, don't worry, I'm not killing him, I promise. At least not yet. But anyway, so pretty much that gift, that dog, was for him to love something, because she knew once he gets cold, he turns into a monster. So the dog was just like a MacGuffin, a plot device. So then once they they beat the shit out the dog and killed it. Sorry, I cursed. That made him snap. Part 2, if you notice, when he goes after his car, like, they make you think he's going after his car, that like a beautiful car, but he bangs it up. He hits people with it. He, does everything.
Tears it up in the first.
In the car was the memento inside of the glove compartment, which was I think it was a birthday card from wifey. And then that sets up the whole him being targeted, blah, blah, blah. But I think the way they did it was subtle, and it goes over a lot of people's heads. It's not about the dog. It could have been a cat. It could have been anything, a bird. She wanted him to love something outside of himself, just so he can at least feel something. Because once this guy went numb, it's over. You know what I mean? I mean, let's be honest. Like, I'm also a psychologist too. It's like when people go numb mentally, you look at A&E and all these people that murder, right? They shut off that part of their brain. They shut off that part of their emotion that makes them human. So that's why they do horrible things, even though this guy, he's a mass murderer, but we know he's a lovable mass murderer because he kills bad guys, yeah. But at the same time, it's the same type of mindset, meaning like this guy needed that catalyst to stay human. And then also too, he did try, and the other guy came in, bring him back with the coin, yada 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 yada. But yeah, it's more than a dog. It really is.
That's a fair point.
That's
I haven't seen. I know John Wick 4 is out and tearing up the box office right now, but I haven't
it's
seen.
getting old. I'll be honest.
I know, but I haven't seen John Wick 4 yet. But I'm looking forward to seeing it when it drops somewhere. And then also, John Wick Part 2 is actually my favorite of the trilogy. So I loved it. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. But interesting
I did like
list.
Halle Berry.
I mean, well, she was in
yeah.
John Wick 3 Parabellum, so that's, I mean, she did all her own stunts, did all the training herself.
That's
She
cool.
worked with the dogs. She trained the dogs. Like for Halle Berry to do that at that age and still be a bad, and a lot of women are doing this nowadays. Halle Berry's doing it. Ming-Na Wen's been doing it for decades. I mean, these actors or actresses who get to a certain age, you would think, oh, they can just retire and move to a cabin in the woods, right?
Jennifer
No.
Lopez.
J-Lo's still doing it. I mean, they can break people's necks and cash the checks. And that is amazing that these actors and actresses are still doing it. I mean, my hat's off. And by the way, congratulations to Ming-Na Wen on getting her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this past week. Congratulations, Ming-Na Wen, a.k.a. Chun-Li Zhan from Street Fighter that I grew up watching as a kid.
That's right.
That's right.
Consider that a wake-up call.
So, hey, Ryan, I am going to have to bolt here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where can the
so
good
much.
people of the interwebs follow John B. Pica on social media and all the great stuff? Johnny, thank you for being here. Where can people follow you?
Back of the cereal box. Super easy. Back of the cereal box. backofthecerealbox.fun. But check that out and join us on Saturday morning. This Saturday morning, we're talking Chuck Norris versus Mr. T, the classic 1980s cartoon series with George Bueller and Kate Hawkins. So you want to tune in and check that out. So anyway, thank you so much, Ryan. This has been a blast. I love it. Love you guys. Mwah.
Take care.
Have a good one, Johnny. Thanks for being with us, man.
Bye-bye.
Great job, man. Thanks for being here. Johnny is a good man. Check out all the stuff he's doing over there at Back at the Cereal Box. He's got a great group of people over there, and they got some good shows, too. And who knows? You might learn something. We just discussed it's funny. Eli, I should have sent you this a while ago, but we did a discussion this past weekend on Back at the Cereal Box, the Saturday morning show, where we discussed the impact of the original 1987 animated series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh man, that would awesome.
Yeah, so I'll send you the link to that behind the scenes off camera. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us and wondering what on earth is going on here, we are talking about what makes a movie perfect in our eyes. We're sharing our feelings, our thoughts. We're giving you lists of movies that we believe to be perfect, or at the very least darn near perfect. You know what I mean? If you have a movie that you want to chime in on, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat, whether you are joining us live or on the replay. Thank you for being with us, and we hope you enjoy this wonderful, wonderful content. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends across the universe, because Lord knows they're going to have thoughts and feelings about the movies I'm about to drop. So we've saved the best for last. I got a list of movies here that I would like to share with you that I consider to be perfect and movies that I can go back and watch. So for me, what makes a movie perfect in my eyes, the criteria, because Johnny actually brought up his criteria for what makes a movie perfect, right? So for me, what makes a movie perfect is rewatchability. Mm-hmm. If a movie has an ability for you to go back and watch it over and over and over again, and you can still enjoy it just like you did the first time, I think that film, to a degree, has accomplished something great. Right. So that's one of the things that are criteria for me. Quotability. There are some quotes in there that I can see myself using in my vernacular, or just quotes that I think are just, spectacular. I think that's a criteria for a perfect movie. And also, if it tells a really good story, if it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, if it's part of a franchise and ends on a cliffhanger, we can make exceptions to the rule, as, some of us have already done on this broadcast. Mm-hmm. So, and also another thing that I think makes a movie perfect is the score. The score, the music, the element of music that is used in a movie, whether it's Hans Zimmer in the Dark Knight trilogy, whether it's James Horner, whether it's Alan Silvestri, some of those other composers that are out there. If the score is good, it's another character in the film. It adds something to the table. So that's something that I believe makes a film perfect. So here are some picks that are going to shock absolutely nobody. Maybe they'll shock you. I don't know. But here's a story about this first movie. I want to discuss this for a moment here. And Kearns, you may get a kick out of this. So the first time I saw this particular movie, I was in college and we had a film club. There was a group of people who would watch a movie in a large lecture hall, right? And they would do this every month. So we went over there one night. We sat down, we watched this movie. I had not seen this movie prior to going into the auditorium. And when I watched this movie, at the very end of it, my jaw dropped, my eyes were sucked from their sockets, and my mind was completely blown 1,000%. And I went to a mom and pop store the next day, and I bought this movie on a format known as Blu-ray. If you don't know what Blu-ray is, look it up in the electronics section of your local Best Buy. # not a sponsor. And I bought it on sale for $5. $5. Okay, this was $5. And to me, this is a perfect movie in every sense of the word. I think it's the best one of this franchise. I think it's a movie that certainly defined the decade that it was released in. And for me, I'm going back to 1984. I'm going to the Terminator. Yeah, I'm going to the Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Michael Biehn, who I've had the pleasure of meeting at a Comic-Con and sharing with him my love of the tech noir scene that takes place in that movie, and Linda Hamilton. Okay, this is another female character that was unsure of herself in the beginning of the movie, and then she comes into her own in the third act of the movie, and she does it brilliantly, in my opinion. You see what I'm saying? So, The Terminator, 1984, one of the greatest motion pictures to ever be made. This movie was shot guerrilla style. It had a very limited shoestring budget. It had a young up-and-coming director, James Cameron, at the time. It had a score by Brad Fiedel that has stood the test of time, in my opinion. And it's not so much an action movie as it is a horror film. This is an action horror film. There are some messed up things that happen in this movie, but it's brilliant in the way that it's done. So The Terminator is certainly one of the first movies that comes to my mind. If you have never seen this, I implore you to stream it wherever you can. I think it's currently streaming on Max, # not a sponsor. Watch this movie, buy it on Blu-ray, buy it on 4K, watch it on a flat screen. I don't care how you do it. I have this movie on DVD, and I have it on Blu-ray, and I got the movie poster, okay? That's how much I love this freaking movie. So I'll be back. Also, people are chiming in the chat. JRobin83 says, I'm in a party all by myself over here on Twitch. I guess your brother's upset with you, Eli. Yeah. Jackie Chan has a new movie that's coming out very soon. Yeah, I saw that. I heard about that Jackie Chan and John Cena movie. Yeah. And then Dave Madden says, speaking of Ming-Na Wen, I've been rewatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as of late. Luis N. Jr. says, hello,
hey,
Eli.
buddy.
Is that one of your buddies?
Yep.
He says The Wizard of Oz and Blow, the Blow film with Johnny Depp from 2001 is easily top 3 movies of all time. For him. Okay, that's interesting. The Wolf of Wall Street is another fantastic film. It's debatable.
Great movie.
Anyway, another movie I think is perfect. We mentioned this movie earlier. Eli, you remember this movie? Kearns, I think you mentioned this earlier. Back to the Future is one of the greatest of all time. It stands alone. It stands by itself. I don't care if there's a little thing that says, hey, there's another one coming. It is a perfect movie from beginning to end. There is nothing that needs to be cut. That's nothing that needs to be removed. There's nothing that needs to be added. The weirdo relationship between Marty and his mom is weird, but I don't care because it's hilarious to no end. Well, that's your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? I mean, it's written all over your under. Wow. I guess most people call you Cal. No, most people call me Marty. So it's just one of the greatest of all time. Another movie that I think is a perfect movie, and I remember seeing this movie in theaters. Okay, this is going back to in theaters here, Kearns and Eli. GoldenEye.
Great movie.
Is my introduction to the James Bond franchise. It was my introduction to an actor by the name of Pierce Brosnan. Certainly an introduction to the very beautiful women in this movie known as Isabella Scorupco and Famke Janssen, who would later on to become Jean Grey in the X-Men movies. So she goes to playing a femme fatale who can kill people with her thighs, known as Xena Onatopp. Onatopp. Your accent, Georgian? Very good, Mr. Bond. You been to Russia? Nah, I used to drop in occasionally. shoot in and out. And also, I want to take a moment here and say rest in peace to the incredible Tina Turner, who performed the theme song for this movie, GoldenEye. Original score was done by Eric Serra. And Tina Turner sang the theme song. Rest in peace, Tina Turner. We miss you. We love you. GoldenEye was my introduction to you as a singer. It was my introduction to James Bond as a franchise. So thank you to GoldenEye. I can watch it over and over again. And speaking of Sean Bean, he actually ends up dead in this movie. So, but he does a great job of ending up dead, right? So I'm just saying. So another movie I consider to be perfect, and this movie actually turns 25 this year, ladies and gentlemen. This movie turns 25 years young. And once again, this goes back to me seeing this in the theater with my dad. My dad is the reason I love movies so much. Dad, thank you. I love you, and I miss you so much. He took me to see this in 1998. It's called The Mask of Zorro. Now, this features a young up-and-coming Antonio Banderas. It features a very beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous, and I do mean drop-dead gorgeous Catherine Zeta-Jones. And come to think of it, Odin's son, Odin, Anthony Hopkins, is the OG Zorro in this iteration of the film, and then he passes the torch successfully onto Antonio Banderas. This movie was directed by Martin Campbell, who also directed the James Bond movies GoldenEye and Casino Royale. Kearns, did you know that? I hope you do. So,
yes, I did.
If you have never seen a Martin Campbell directed movie, GoldenEye and The Mask of Zorro are two of his top 5 movies of all time, in my opinion. So go out, find this movie on DVD, buy it on Blu-ray, stream it on a streaming service. This movie is 2 hours of nothing but fun, action adventure with heart, with soul, and the score by, I believe, if I remember this correctly, James Horner, if I'm not mistaken, is fantastic work. So go out, go see The Mask of Zorro. You got to see it. It's incredible stuff. This movie I just rewatched not too long ago. There are 2 different cuts of this movie. There's the standard cut and there's the director's cut. Okay. So we were talking about a young actor who's been around for generations. His name is Val Kilmer. He's in this movie called Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. This movie is directed by Michael Mann, the same guy who created the series Miami Vice, the same guy who directed movies such as Collateral with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise, which is one of the few times you're going to see Tom Cruise play an antagonist in a movie. And Heat is, in my opinion, the best bank heist, most realistic, very realistic bank heist movie I've ever seen in my life. The bank shootout sequence that's in towards the second, maybe the beginning of the third act of this movie, it feels, the sound design, the editing, and the sound is so real. You feel like you're in the middle of the street witnessing this robbery take place. And you feel like you're in the middle of a shootout between police officers and bank robbers doing what they have to do to accomplish their mission, right? So if you have never seen Heat, definitely check this out. And here's a fun fact for you who are wondering where this is streaming. Not only is this movie streaming on Netflix, you can watch this movie for free with ads on YouTube right now, Kearns. I kid you not. You can stream this movie for free on YouTube. Go watch this movie. Your mind's going to be blown. So another movie that I actually was almost an extra in this movie. I almost actually got a part in this movie. They were filming this in Berlin, Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland, where I used to live. I didn't live in Berlin, but I lived in Towson, but Berlin was on the eastern shore. So they were filming this. This was a period piece. There were scenes that were filmed in modern day Berlin, and then there were scenes that were shot in old school, like really old school Berlin, right? So I went to my parents and said, hey, look, they're filming. They're looking for extras. Can I audition? And as soon as we got to the auditions, I chickened out at the last minute. At the last minute, I chickened out. It's crazy. I chickened out. I told my parents, you know what? There's a little too much craziness here for me. Can we just go back to the hotel? Can we just go home? And they're like, yeah, sure, we can do it. And little did I know how great this movie would be, that I consider it to be a perfect movie in every aspect of the word. This is a 95-minute movie that tells a very tight story with an incredible award-winning cast, with an incredible score, brilliant direction, brilliant cinematography. I'm talking about Walt Disney's Tuck Everlasting, based on a book of the same name by Natalie Babbitt. Okay? So, real quick, I'm going to set the scene for you. Tuck Everlasting is a movie about a family that doesn't seem to age, and everyone is curious. Why don't you age? What is your secret? And when they find out what the secret is, it begins an incredible adventure. 100%. You got Alexis Bledel, Ben Kingsley, Sissy Spacek, Jonathan Jackson, William Hurt, and Victor Garber, who I've had the pleasure of sitting down and having a virtual conversation with. This movie is so good. It's perfect. It really is. And yes, Kearns, I see what you did there. So this movie is beyond incredible. It is so good. It's perfect. Stream it. It's on Disney Plus. Once again, hashtag not a sponsor. But go out, stream the movie. I have it on DVD. If I ever meet any of the members of the cast, I don't care if it's Alexis Bledel or anyone else, I'm going to have them sign my DVD because this movie is that good. Also, we brought this movie up earlier. I think it's one of the greatest of all time. Casablanca, one of the greatest of all time. You've never seen it, you're missing out. Kearns brought this up. Well, he brought up one film in this franchise, but this was the first movie of this franchise that I ever saw. And quite frankly, it's still my favorite to this day. I don't care what anyone says. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. If you want the definition of perfect action adventure movie, this is the movie you need to see. 100%. Whether it's this or Raiders, either one, it doesn't matter. But if you see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, your mind is going to be blown. 100%. This movie tells a great story about a strained relationship between father and son. Brings up a few similar things between myself and my dad. I miss you, Dad. I love you to pieces. Great cast. Great story, great action, great film, great score. John Williams, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, Alison Doody, who I had no idea who she was until this movie came out. I watched this on VHS a ton of times as a kid. Kearns. Yeah. One of the first VHS tapes I ever picked up, and I watched it over and over and over and over again. And I love this movie to pieces. Another movie I want to share with you here. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. If you want a movie that's going to define a character, if you want a movie that's going to stand the test of time and is going to stand out amongst all the other, because we've had 30,000 iterations of Batman in the movies, in the TV series, in the comics, the creative teams that have put together the comic books. There's been thousands upon thousands of different teams that have taken on this character. But the team of Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, right? Dana Delaney, Abe Vigoda's in this movie. You got, gosh almighty, Stacy Keach makes the voice appearance there, I believe. This is incredible beyond words. This movie tells a complete story about who Bruce Wayne was before he became Batman, what made him decide to become Batman, and why he continues to wear the cape and the cowl. Why does he keep doing this? Why doesn't he just retire and do something else? He has his reasons. And in this movie, you find out his motivations, his reasoning behind what he's doing is, I'm Batman. So watch Mask of the Phantasm, stream it, buy it, own it. By the way, I had the pleasure of meeting Kevin Conroy a few years before he died. Wonderful man, wonderful gentleman. Kevin Conroy, you are going to be forever missed. When I read a comic book that features the character of Batman, all I hear in my mind is Kevin Conroy.
Kevin's voice, yeah.
Is 1,000%. Every single time I crack open a comic book, Eli, it's Kevin freaking Conroy. 100%. Yeah. So another movie, this is going to surprise a lot of people here, and some people have not seen this, and I think this movie kind of flies under the radar for a lot of different reasons. The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon and Emily freaking Blunt. One of the most beautiful women on the planet, one of the greatest actresses in the history of modern day Hollywood. The Adjustment Bureau is based on a short story by Philip K. Dick. This is directed by George Nolfi. George Nolfi had never directed a movie before this. This was his directorial debut. And he did a great job in this movie. The score by, I believe it's Thomas Newman. Thomas Newman, I believe, does the score for this movie. I might be wrong about that. Correct me in the chat. This movie, from beginning to end, is captivating. It is thought-provoking. The chemistry between Matt Damon and Emily Blunt is beyond incredible. Just beyond incredible. So if you've never heard of this movie, if you've never seen it, check it out on a streaming service. Buy it on DVD if you must. It's a really great movie, and it's Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt is just one of the best actresses in the business today. And if she ever starts doing conventions, which, by the way, Emily Blunt, I know you watch our show. I'm hoping you do this. If you start going to conventions, I'm going to sit down with you, and I'm going to have a conversation with you about the greatness that is the Adjustment Bureau. So check it out. Look it up. Google it if you have to. It's great stuff. I like it. Patrick Slattery is in it. Terrence Stamp is in it. You got a great cast. You can't go wrong. So I'm hoping I'm not missing something here. I don't think I am. Those are the movies, 10 movies that I believe to be perfect. Matt Kearns, what are your thoughts?
I'm surprised Man of Steel was not on that list. That was one that I was thinking we were going to throw on there. But no, really good list. Something that I was not expecting. I love Tuck Everlasting. That's one of my favorite live action Disney films. I remember being in middle school, and we read the book, and then we got to spend a part of a day in the amphitheater watching the movie. And I love that movie. I think it's great. When William Hurt passed away, I used the clip where he's talking to Winnie, and he says, dying is a way of life, can't be living if there's not dying. Don't be afraid of death, Winnie. Be afraid of the unlived life. Because I think that's just that's what's wonderful about that movie is
it's relevant.
Tuck and his family don't want to live forever, because when you live forever, there's nothing to live for. And it's a message that's just like, yeah, we're all going to pass away, but that's kind of good, because that we all have a time out, and so spend the time you got while you got it. And I think that's a beautiful message for kids and adults as well. Yeah, a lot of great picks. I've never seen The Adjustment Bureau. I've heard things about it, so I'll definitely add it to the list.
Yeah, definitely look it up. Definitely start streaming it. Whatever you got to do, it's really good stuff. Eli, my good sir, what are your thoughts on my list? That's better than everyone else's.
You know why it's better than everyone else's? Because it's yours. I never seen the Tuck Everlasting, and I never seen The Adjustment Bureau. So those are two that maybe I'll check out, especially The Adjustment Bureau. Looks like my type of movie. Is it sci-fi, action, or would that be?
Well, it's a combination of drama and I would say it's a drama mostly than anything. It's a drama.
Really?
But it's really good. And there are some moments of levity in it, so it's dramedy, but it's mostly drama.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, not a lot of moments of levity, but there are a few one-liners that'll say, hey, we're having an intense moment. Let's break the ice a little bit here. But yeah, it's a drama for sure.
Cool.
It's a drama thriller, basically.
Okay, I'll check it out. Terminator, great movie. I mean, I realized when I was a kid I liked Terminator 2, and then I got older I liked Terminator 1. Terminator 2 was a boy and his dog film, great movie with a lot of violence. But Terminator 1 was definitely a masterpiece. It wasn't cheesy. It was serious. It was scary in some ways. You felt the fear of, Connor, Sarah, as much as Reese. So that's a great movie. Mark Gazzaro. I love that too. I saw one in the theaters many moons ago. Shoot. Antonio Banderas was great. That's probably his Puss in Boots before Puss in Boots. That was a really fun movie. Like I got, talking about it makes me want to like pop it in. I think my dad was watching it a couple couple months ago. He was checking out the ending. He loved Christina Zeta-Jones. I'll tell my mom that. The other film, what was the other one you said after Mask of Zorro? Oh, Indiana Jones was a great film. Yeah, there we go. The Last Crusade, another great movie. I mean, I love part 1. Part 2, Heat, was another great film. Indiana Jones was great because it had like that whole thing on faith too. You know, being humble, the chalice, choose wisely. Like
Grail Knight like steals that movie. He steals like the entire, pretty much the last 20 minutes of that movie. He steals it.
You know, and like you said, father and son. You know, the dog was named Indiana. A great movie. The fight with the Nazi on the tank. It's just great.
Colonel Vogel.
Great film. Yeah, great film. So yeah. And Mask of Phantasm. Come on, like, you know, do we need to say any more? You know, we could do a whole podcast on that one.
I know. We can do it. We can do a dissertation on that movie, honestly.
Like a breakdown, play by play. But
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but like a dissertation. But it's funny you mentioned it because this movie turns 30 in December, and we're going to do a 30th anniversary celebration of the movie. So.
And I turned 43 in December. Look at that.
Ooh, boy, some of us are getting too young for this job. But
may we keep growing younger. My leg is reminding me I'm 43. Other than that, I'm good. But
good, man.
Good choice. Good choices.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, how can you not talk about Back to the Future and how good that movie is? Honestly, how can you not?
I didn't because it was on my list.
Yeah, I know, right?
Matt named it first.
A lot of people copied off my list. I hate you all. But, you know, hey, tardy good for you, Miss Parker, and another for you, McFly. I believe that makes 4 in a row. Let me give you a nickel worth of free advice, young man. There's so many quotable lines, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so those are my 10 movies. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every single one of you. And thank you to our rock star group of panelists that we had on this show, because this has been intriguing. It's been intense at times. There have been some hot takes that you didn't see that coming? No, I didn't. I did not see those coming. But I want to take a moment here. Luis and Junior says, I want the Batman Part 2 from Matt Reeves already. He also goes on to say, do you think, guys, the Back to the Future could be reworked if it were released in 2023? No, because you can't touch it. You can't touch it.
Because Michael J. Fox could not play Marty McFly. No, it could not have worked.
You can't do it. Luis also goes on to say, are we forgetting about Rocky 1? Well, Kearns mentioned Rocky 1. He did earlier in the
I mentioned it.
Show. Yo, Adrian, I did it. Luis goes on to say, have any of you seen the new Spider-Verse film? Is it better than the
No, I haven't. Not yet.
Seeing it soon.
I can't say anything because I haven't seen it. Let's see. What is this? Hanging Judge Joker? That's me. Oh, J. Robin. Okay. Not sure what that's going with. And then he also goes on to say, Biff! Yes, Biff Tannen is one of the greatest characters in the history of film because I just freaking love his lines because his lines are great. I know. Why don't you make like a tree and get out? It's a leaf, you idiot. Make like a tree and you leave. You sound like a damn fool when you say it wrong.
And Josh just quoted Batman the Animated Series, A Trial.
Oh, that's. Oh, okay. I was like, where is he going with that? I'm not 100% sure. But hey, that's me, guys. I'm not sure what's going on in this chat half the time. But once again, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us. We have been talking about perfect movies here at Nerd Culture Channel. This has been a great discussion. Hey, listen, if you like what you see here and you want to see a sequel, and you want me to bring in a whole new roster of guest stars to be on the panel and discuss with us what they believe to be perfect movies, we want to hear about it in the chat. Let us know in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. It doesn't matter. We want to hear from you. Matt Kearns, thank you so much for being here, kind sir. Where can the good people of the interwebs follow you on social media and everything that you have coming up?
You guys can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter. 2 places on YouTube, Matt Movies 611 and Take 3 Productions. On Take 3 Productions, I host a couple of shows. One is a video essay series called Second Look, where I take a movie that I love that I think is either overhated or under talked about, and I talk about the reasons why I think it's a good movie and why you should give it a second look. I also host the Fandom Podcast, which is a show where me and a guest take one topic and we talk about all the reasons why we like it. And then finally, I'm the co-host of the podcast Simple Tricks and Nonsense with my buddy Abe Flores, where we hit go live on StreamYard and we just kind of chat for 3 hours. And it's always a fun time crazy things happen. But we talk about movies a lot. We just recently ranked, we did a tier list for the Disney Renaissance. So go watch that and tell us why we're wrong.
Oh, geez, that's a good one. Oh, my goodness gracious. Eli, you are an accomplished artist. You're an incredible firefighter. Thank you for your service, good sir. And thank you for being with us on this special presentation of Perfect Movies. Where can the individual who may be watching or listening to this right here, right now, follow you on social media and everything that you have coming up? And what if they want to purchase one of your brilliant pieces of artwork?
Wow. Let's see. Where do I start? You can find me on all social media on Facebook, Art of Eli 1980, or Eli Ramos. Has a picture of me and my little Finny, my nephew. You can find me on Twitter, Art of Eli 1980. You can find me on Instagram, Art of Eli 1980, as well as something I'm putting in little clips, which probably some of this part of the show will be on it. Ethos of Eli, which is mindset stuff, faith stuff, some art stuff as well. I'm on TikTok as well, still Art of Eli. Put up cartoon clips, art stuff, fun stuff, things that I just pop up and I just want to share with everybody. You can find me, I think that's all the social. Oh wait, YouTube. I started a YouTube channel, Ethos of Eli. That'll have little longer segments, stuff like that. If you want to purchase my art, usually I put up my artwork, any artwork you see on there, any of the conventions. I always forget though. I usually try to post them. I'm going to be going to Morristown Comic Con this month, as well as RetroCon in September, and probably one I forgot somewhere in the middle. I just got back from a lot of different conventions. Hit me up. I'm always willing to talk to anybody. If anybody's going through anything, I'm also a crisis counselor as well. By helping you, I help myself. So I appreciate any anybody that needs an ear to listen to. And God bless. Stay encouraged.
Great stuff, man. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and being with us. We do greatly appreciate it. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram, simply at Ryan RPM5. That's RYAN RPM5. You can check me out there. Also, check out our YouTube channel and all the stuff we're doing on our social media. You can follow us there. All the links are located to where you can follow us, as well as our guests that we had on this special presentation talking about Perfect Movies, located within the description of this video down below. A lot of great things are coming your way very soon. We're going to be in some Comic Cons here. We're going to be at Awesome Con in Washington, D.C., June 16th through the 18th. Then we're going to be in Shore Leave in the month of July 7th through the 9th in Hunt Valley, Maryland. And then to wrap up the summer tour, we're going to be at Galaxy Con July 28th through the 30th in Raleigh, North Carolina. So come on by. Come on. We're going to be walking around the convention hall, so say hi to us. Say hi, take a selfie, and talk about some fandoms that you're interested in, stuff that you love. Speaking of movies, we're going to be doing an anniversary watch-along for the 10th anniversary of Man of Steel on Sunday, June the 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The greatest, most underrated comic book movie of all time, Man of Steel, starring the incredible Henry Cavill, who should have gotten more Superman movies, and we wish he would have. Also, we're going to be celebrating the 15th anniversary of The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton, and the very next day on Monday, June the 12th. All these presentations are going to be held at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. They're going to be live. We're going to be watching the movie. We're going to be commentating along with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, you know what? I'm not going to say also, because we've had so much fun here. That's the point, is that we hope you've enjoyed this presentation. If you have any thoughts about Perfect Movies or anything we may have missed, something we should have added to our list, leave any and all your thoughts in the comments. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And remember, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. And remember, life is better when watching the magic of movies. Take a look.
So you make movies, huh?
I produce feature motion pictures.
I got an idea for a movie. That's good, Ray.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
No, please.
What's the matter?
Do we have to hear the kissing part?
Someday you may not mind so much.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I'm in love with you.
Snap out of it.
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
Were you always funny?
Hey, what is this, an interview? We're supposed to be making love.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'll have what she's having.
If you win, you win. If you lose, you still win.
I'll be back. They call me Mr. Tibbs.
All right, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.